Welcome back to This is Baseball. I'm Brandon Johnson. So, this week, I really don't have a ton planned. So what I wanted to do this week was just kind of do a reflection on the 2024 season so far and just kind of how I feel it's going just as a fan, and just really how I think it has been an overall success, and there's been a lot of just kind of new and different that's been going on this season. And we'll probably do something similar to this as well after the season wraps, but I thought it was a good time to just kind of take a pause and kind of look at how everything's shaking out, because typically, like, if we're going to look at the standings, typically there's teams that are just, there's one or two teams that are just running away with each league. And I can say that there's teams that are clearly better than the rest. Like, I put Baltimore and New York kind of at the top of the AL, and obviously only one of those teams can win their division, so the other will be the first wild card. But they both have 70 wins along with the Cleveland Guardians, so there's three teams with 70 wins. But as far as playoff teams go, like, Houston has 63 wins, and they are the furthest out from being that top team in the league. But I feel like there's a lot there. I feel like there's typically a lot more separation. So I like that right now this season feels very close. It doesn't feel like any of the divisions are necessarily wrapped up, because like I said, you look at the AL East, and Baltimore and New York are neck and neck with each other. Baltimore's actually a half game up. But that division's going to come down to probably the last weekend of the season. AL Central, same thing. I think Cleveland is probably going to end up holding on. But Minnesota's 3.5 back, and Kansas City's 5 back. I think at this point, not to say that Kansas City can't come back in that division, but I think if anybody's going to overtake Cleveland, it is the Twins, just because they have less ground to make up. AL West, again, that division between first and second, only half a game separates the Astros and Mariners. So, the AL is tight in all three divisions. Again, the biggest gap is that 3.5 game lead that Cleveland has on Minnesota, but a lot can happen between now and the end of the season. We have about 40 games left. But National League, there's a little bit more separation between divisions. The Phillies are 7 games ahead of the Braves, and the Brewers are 7.5 up on the Cardinals. Dodgers are actually interesting, because I think everybody, myself included, expected the Dodgers to just run away with this season, be the best team in the National League and be the best team in MLB. They are actually only 3.5 games up on Arizona and San Diego. And that's not to say that the Dodgers are playing bad. It's just the Diamondbacks and Padres are actually playing pretty well. Because if you look at run differential, the Dodgers have the third best run differential in the league at plus 100, behind the Brewers and the New York Yankees. So they're still a really good team, but they're not just completely running away with things, like I said. In fact, like I said, they're 3 games ahead of Arizona and San Diego. Milwaukee has 67 wins. So it's not even a guarantee at this point that they're going to have a first round bye or even win the NL West. So with that being said, I think like this season in particular, it's the playoff races are incredibly tight, and you're going to really probably not have a good idea of who's going to win most of these divisions until the last maybe 10 or less games of the season. So we're going to have a really exciting 6 weeks of baseball left. And looking at the wild card, I know that there's mixed feelings about the wild card and the expansion of MLB's playoffs from the 5 teams to the 6 teams, in each league having 3 wild card teams now. But I can tell you firsthand, just as a Royals fan, I like the idea of more teams being in it, especially this late in the season, because the Royals currently hold that last wild card spot. They're a game and a half behind Minnesota, and they're actually playing Minnesota head-to-head right now. They lost last night. But 4 years ago when it was only 5 playoff teams in each league, that would have been significantly more stressful for the Royals to have lost that game. But since they're currently holding a playoff spot, if the season ended today, they would be in. Where while these head-to-head games against the Twins are crucial, they're not, must-win games because they already have a playoff spot. Obviously, you want to leapfrog the Twins and get a little bit more insurance and security and be the second wild card team, because right now you only hold a 2-game lead against or over the Boston Red Sox and Seattle Mariners. So while not every game is a must-win game, you need to make sure that you're not losing pace in the current standings. And I like that the teams on top now. I'm not necessarily saying that there's a bunch of parity, but it's nice to see Baltimore's on top and they are proving that they're for real. Cleveland's really good. Twins and Royals are really good. Seattle stayed good. I know Houston speaks for themselves. They're always there. But the Phillies above the Braves. The Braves are really just trying to hold on to a wild card spot at this point. I know they're having to overcome some injuries, but it's really surprising that they're, not quite the powerhouse that we've expected them to be over the last 5 years or so. But I like to see that the Diamondbacks and Padres are kind of making a late season surge, because I was kind of worried about them. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I was like, I'm not sure that both of them can make it, but right now they're both tied for that top wild card spot, and they have a 4-game cushion there. So, and they're both 8-1 in their 8-2 in their last 10. That next team is the Braves. They're 3-7 in their last 10, and then you have the New York Mets, Cardinals, and San Francisco Giants all sitting outside of that. Not worried about the Giants. Mets and Cardinals kind of have been streaky this year. The Cardinals, in fact, had a 50-game stretch where they were the best team in baseball, and now they're just kind of okay again. They're just over 500. So I have to take back, I think, what I said. Now we could go a month from now and be like, what happened to the Diamondbacks and Padres? But as it stands right now, again, 4-game cushion there. Can the Diamondbacks stick in the playoff spot and get back to the World Series and win it? Again, it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Diamondbacks to catch the Dodgers. Again, only 3.5 back from Los Angeles. So I like that there's so much to look at. I feel like last year I was really focused in on what the AL West was doing, because there was, Houston decided to get really good again. Texas and Seattle, they were all kind of in a 3-team race there at the end of the season. And that was like the division to pay attention to. And now looking at this, I think we're going to have a lot of stuff to discuss and a lot of scenarios to cover and matchups and schedule watching. So I think, again, over the next 6 weeks, we have a lot of exciting baseball ahead of us. I know these last few weeks of the season are going to fly by. I'm excited to see what happens. That is all I have for baseball this week. Before I go, I know, short and sweet. If you're a fan of football, myself and good friend of mine, Tyler Mallon, have a podcast. It's called Football Kingdom. It is a weekly recap of the NFL season, and those episodes are back in full swing right now. We're currently doing a preview of the AFC, followed by some previews of the NFC in the month of August. I will link that podcast in the episode description if you want to check that out. This will be our second season of Football Kingdom, so feel free to check that out. Thank you for listening. See you next time.